Hello, grade 10 boys and girls. So you might be getting confused now. Oh, we've got all of these functions that we have to learn. Well, the more you use them, the easier it is to learn. And if you want to go and read up about them again, it's all there in the textbook. But we're going to do the next exercise using these functions. So the more exercise you do, the better. So you watch what I'm doing. This is page 75. We're going to do the points calculation project, and you open that, and what is it? Well, if you spend, Tommy's bank allows him to earn points each month depending on the amount of money he spends. For every 500 he gets 5 points. So the calculate button is going to read the amount of money that you spend for a month, calculate the points he's earned for that month, and display the amount spent and the points earned. Now let's think about it. You're basically going to divide the amount that is earned by 500, but then you'll have a decimal point. What they've done here is they've just wiped away the decimal points, and we use that with trunk. You can just wipe away the decimal points with the function called trunk, which cuts off all decimal points. No, we're not going to use div. We learned about div and mod previously, but we're not going to use that now, because this chapter is all about using those particular functions that they told us about at the beginning. In other words, trunk is one that we will use here. Right, so you open the program, and we're going to enter amount in an edit box, and yay, so you're going to have to learn to display in the rich edit again. A rich edit is like a Word document, but it's on your form. You can format it like it's a fancy output display. It's very similar to a Word document, believe it or not. Anyway, back to this. We have an edit box here, EDT amount, and our calculate button. So we want to put everything in our calculate button. So you double click the calculate button and we put in our variables here. R input, because that's the input, which is going to be a real number. Why? Well, we know that money will involve decimal points, more than likely. 99.999% of the time we'll have rands and cents, which is a decimal point. Therefore, we declare a real variable for our input. Our input equals, the edit box is called EDT amount, and you can't just say EDT amount dot text, can we? Nope, nope, nope. Why? Because there's a string on the right hand side, and we want a real number on the right hand side, so we have to say string to float, open brackets, close brackets, and don't forget about the semicolon. Now we're going to go and do our division, which will get our number at the end of the day, and I want it to be an integer. I points colon integer. So as a result of processing, we'll have our points, which will be our output variable. So we have input variable and output variable. So our points equal to what? Trunk. In other words, cut off all the decimal points from our input, and trunk returns an integer. And then all that's left to do is to go and display that in the rich edit, red display. So we say red display dot lines dot add. We want our points there, don't we? But our points is an integer, and everything in brackets in this rich edit dot lines dot add procedure, everything in brackets there must be a string. So we're going to say int to string. But that's not all that they want us to do. They want us to display the amount spent and the points earned. It must be neat and tidy. So we were supposed to have on top, before we display the points, we're supposed to display our input. So red display dot lines dot add open brackets. We're supposed to put in there the words amount spent. Okay, join that to, well, guess what, I'm going to put in a #9. That is going to be like a tab stop that you would use in Microsoft Word. It's like pressing the tab key. So I'm putting the #9. That's going to represent pressing a tab key. So you're learning new things every day. This is one of the new things that you're going to learn, that you are learning. So I hope you're learning. So we want to put our input there, but we can't just somehow put our input there without converting it to a string. Okay, fine. So float to string, open brackets. Okay, I'm just going to join that on another line so you can see. That's not going to be good enough either. And we mustn't forget about closing our bracket at the end here. Float to string our input. It's not going to look like our output, is it? We're supposed to have rands and cents. We're supposed to format that nicely and round it off to 2 decimal places. So float to string f, our input, and in there I'll put comma. This time I'm going to use my magical FF currency, comma. And then the next one is going to be how many? There's supposed to be 4. With float to string f, it's supposed to be 4 parameters. First, the real number, this is the way you want it to look. Total number of decimal points, total number of digits. And the 4th one is total number of decimal points. So there's the 2 decimal points, total number of digits. What do you want it to look like? If you have fixed or if you have currency, you can have 2 choices there. And then this is the real number that you are converting to string and formatting. By the way, I didn't have to put a capital F there. I can just use a small f. It'll do the same thing. Right, so we had this #9 introduced here. That's a tab stop. It's like putting a nice neat space between 2 strings. So that is our first rich edit.lines.add. That is taking the amount that they spent per month and displaying it. But over here we want to also go and put in the amount of points earned, and we're going to also #9 that, put #9 in between. So I'm just putting on another line, then join that to our interstring number of points. So, and don't forget to close the bracket. So this is very tricky. You must get used to doing that. Your rich edit.lines.add, and in brackets you put a string, and if you want to join a whole lot of strings together, that's what we've done here. And in between the 2 strings that we are joining together, we've introduced a tab stop, which is a #9, and this is a string because we converted integer to a string, and this over here is a string because we said float to string f. We converted a real number to a string and formatted it. So we run the program, see how it works. And you're going to do this by yourself. Let's go and see if I'm correct. 5845.12. 5845.12. Calculate. Oops. Now that doesn't look right. No. You know why? Because I never divided. You can't just trunk our input. I didn't do my calculation, as some of you would have realized. I'm not supposed to just trunk our input. I'm supposed to divide our input 500 and then trunk it. I'm so glad I made that mistake. I wasn't thinking. So we take the real number, divide it by 500, and then we trunk it. Now that should look better. 5845.12. So 5845.12, calculate. Oh, 11 points. Interesting. Well, what's 11 times 500? Our input divided by 500. I'm going to go do that here. Equal 5845.18 divided by 500. Well, if I rounded it would have been 12, eh? Because for every 500 you get 5 points. Oh, you're going to multiply it by 5. See, now I made the very, very big mistake that we always make when we're doing exercises. We don't read properly. So I didn't read properly. 5 points for every 500. So I have to multiply this by 5. See? Our input divided by 500 is 1 point. Multiplied by 5, I'll have 5 points. Oops, not that. Don't multiply it there. That would have been a logical error. If I'd put the multiply by 5 in here, I would have had a major logical error. Okay? Would not have been the right answer. You want me to test it for you? I'll show you. If I multiply by 5 in brackets there, this is what we call a logical error. There's no other errors. I've just did something wrong in the processing. What's the number again? Oh my word. 5845.12. Okay, 58. See, that's the wrong answer because I multiplied by 5 inside the brackets. I must get my logic right. You trunk the input divided by 500 and then multiply that by 5. Otherwise what you're doing is you're multiplying our input by 5 and just dividing it by 100, which is completely wrong. You get the number of points by trunking and then multiply the number of points by 5. So that was quite a big mistake to make. Well, in a test it would have been 1 mark, but still 1 mark that you shouldn't have had to lose. So that's 100% correct now. So try and do this on your own without looking at the video.